Hi everyone, and welcome back to Maths and Physics with Mr. Simons, where we make maths and physics simple. Right, today's lesson, we're looking at the parabola and straight line, but now we're looking at the second variation of 4 when we ask a parabola and straight line. In this one, we've given you an equation. In the equation, the turning point is given of the parabola, but the rest of the parabola is not, or the rest of the equation is not given to you, right? June 2020, KZN or KwaZulu-Natal, born in that province. Right, f of x equal a, x minus 2 all squared plus 4, and they say a not equal to 0. G of x equal mx plus k as sketched below. OS, so from O to S there, equals half the length of O to Q. Alright. Now they want me to write down the coordinates of P, so I assume you can see there P is a turning point. This dotted line here is called the axis of symmetry, meaning, say axis of symmetry, this half and that half should be exact duplicates of each other of the parabola. This is the exact middle of the two. Right, write down the range of f of x. So we want range, we want all the possible y values that this graph will go to as we continue drawing it. Then they say show that a value there equal minus 3 over 4 for 3 marks. So I'm going to use some points on this graph to substitute in there to find the a value. Then determine the turning point of h if h of x equal f 2x for 4 marks. And then write down the equation of g of x for 2 marks. So then we want the equation of the straight line. So as always, maintain, try to answer as many of these questions. See whether you can get the marks. See how much marks you get. So here we have 6, 9, 10. See how much you get out of 11. Build up your confidence, right? There are certain things that you forget sometimes or were never taught. But here together we will work through the solutions. So you can see what small errors you've made. Then you need to practice that errors out of you, right? So you can pause and attempt. Right, next problem. Write down the coordinates of P. So when this equation is given to you, remember this we used to get in grade 11 from completing the square. No? They asked you to complete the square, you wrote it in this format. So we need to know for my turning point, my x value, sign always changes. Remember x minus 2 equal to 0. If I take 2 over, x equal to 2, and then my y value of my turning point would then be 4. So P there is simply 2 and 4. So negative 2 becomes positive 2. And then y becomes 4. So that's the turning point. I hope you follow. You see how we've gone. So the x will always change sign and the y always stays as it appears. 6.2, write down the range of f of x. So we can't find the range if we don't have the turning point. So at this turning point, the highest y value there that it's gone to was 4. From there, it's not going higher than 4. No? So from there, the graph is actually moving down on both sides. You can see there. So therefore, my range is going from that point and becoming smaller. So we would say y less or equal to 4. Meaning from there and smaller. Right? Or y element of negative infinity to 4. See, square brackets means the 4 is included. Right? So that's equal to 4 at that point. Negative infinity, we don't know where it ends. Therefore, open parentheses or open brackets. Right? So either way, some teachers prefer you to write range in that format. This here is also just as valid. Y less or equal to 4. Now we read it like one of my children asked me. In short, you see there, if we look at the inequality sign, the side is a big gap and that side is a small point. So whatever's on the big gap side is always the biggest value. You see there 4 would be the biggest, and y there, because it's pointing, is the smallest. So it's basically the bigger item will always point to the smaller item, right? So there, we always put the bigger value in the gap, and the smaller item by the sharp point that it's pointing towards. Right, next problem. Show that A equal negative 3 over 4. So OS equals half the length of OQ. Alright, so I assume you remember the coordinates for P was 2 and 4. So there by Q, my X value is 2. So from O to Q is 2 units. So if OS is half the length of OQ, then OS would be 1 unit. Right, so you see there, P is 2 and 4, therefore Q is 2, so OQ equal 2, therefore OS equal 1. Alright, so S is a y-intercept, so therefore for S, my coordinates would be 0 and 1, and for Q there, my coordinates would be 2 and 0. Right, so if I take S 0 and 1 and I substitute it in, that states that my y value there is 1, while my x value there is 0. So 0 minus 2 gives me minus 2 squared, which is 4, plus 4 if I take it over, 1 minus 4 equal 4a. 1 minus 4 would give me negative 3, but we always divide by the coefficient in front of a. So if I divide by 4, I have minus 3 over 4 equal a. So f of x then equal minus 3 over 4, x minus 2 squared plus 4. Right, so I hope you follow what I've done. So I just had to substitute one point in there, and the point I had was 0 and 1. See, on the rest of the graph, I had no other point. I didn't have the coordinates of A or P, my x-intercepts. Don't have the coordinates of T, that point of intersection there, which is generally a very common question for 6 marks. So therefore I had to work with what they given me there, and that was to guide me finding the coordinates there, just being out of the ordinary, so we can find the A value. Right, next question. Determine the turning point of H if H of x equal f2x. Right, so remember now f of x equal minus 3 over 4 x minus 2 squared plus 4. According to what's given there, the turning point would be 2 and 4. Now they want f2x. So my x here is changing to 2x. So wherever I see x, I'm going to substitute it with 2x. So I have minus 3 over 4, and that x then now becomes 2x minus 2 squared plus 4. Right, if I separate and take out 2 as a common factor, 2x divided by 2 gives me x. 2 divided by 2 gives me the minus 1. Alright, all squared. Alright, 2 times 2 would then give me 4. If I take the square in, that would become x minus 1 all squared plus 4. Minus 3 over 4 times 4. 4 and 4 cancels, and I'm left with minus 3 times x minus 1 all squared plus 4. So therefore my new turning point now is 1 and 4. So that's the whole process. The x always changes sign, 1, y stays as appears, 4. So I hope you follow what I've done there. We were always asked this generally for 2 marks. This one was 4 marks. Right? Finding a new equation or new turning point, etc. That is one of the questions we will always test in either grade 11 or grade 12 exam paper. Right, let's go to the next question. Right, 6.5. Write down the equation of g of x. So g of x, as you can see there, is the straight line. The straight line goes through the points S, Q, and T. Right, so I'm going to use 2 of these 3 points, depending on which given to me, to find the equation of the straight line. So they gave gx equal mx plus k, where k is my y-intercept, which would be there with that point S. Right, so if we start off, we know S is 0 and 1. We also know that q there was 2 and 0, because p is 2 and 4. So if x is 2 there, then q here, the x value there would also be 2. Right? So if my y-intercept is at 1, this becomes gx equal mx plus 1. Alright, then if I take the point 2 and 0 and I substitute it in, I should be able to find the value of m. So 2 and 0 states that x is 2 while y is 0. Alright? If I take plus 1 over, it will become minus 1. Then I want x on its own, so I always divide by the 2 in front of x. So that gives me minus 1 divided by 2, which then gives me negative 1 over 2. So x equals negative 1 over 2. Therefore, g of x equal minus half x plus 1. Right, so I hope you understand and follow. Continue practicing. Continue working towards getting better. This is just a guide to ensure that when you go through similar exam questions, you have something to come back to assist you with small things that you get stuck with. Right? But I hope you stay with us, because in the next lesson, we'll look at the third variation of how we test parabola and straight line. Then we also obviously have to look at parabola given with the exponential graph and parabola given with hyperbola. Right? But wish you nothing but the best. God bless. Bye.